Welcome to the Hindu Center for Politics and Public Policy. It is my honor to extend a very cordial welcome to all of us who have joined us here, particularly the leaders of all political parties who accepted spontaneously and readily our invitation to join us in this interface. Before I hand over the floor to Mr. N. Ram, Chairman, Kasturi & Sons, to moderate today's discussions, I would like to place the discussion in context. This discussion, the second by the Hindu Center, the first being the discussion on Telangana held in Hyderabad, is exactly 10 days after the Election Commission had sent a proposal to the Union government asking for proposing a change in the law to prohibit the publication and dissemination of results of an opinion poll. So it is very timely in that context, and we thought we should engage with the public and the political leadership of the state so that we get a view on why the political parties have taken such a position and take it forward from there. This raises many questions in a society, particularly any statistical exercise is only as good as its methodology. And to help us with this, we have renowned mathematician and chairman of Director of Chennai Mathematical Institute, Professor Rajiva Karandikar. We also have with us distinguished members of the civil service, academics, journalists, members of the public who have all joined us this morning. A brief word about the Hindu Center. The Hindu Center for Politics and Public Policy was inaugurated by the President of India this January. The continued support to the Center by the Board of Management comprising the Director of the Hindu Center, Dr. Malini Parsardi, Mr. N. Ram, and Mr. N. Ravi, Editor-in-Chief of the Hindu, has seen us carry out a lot of programs over the past 10 months. As I said, this is the second public engagement. In addition to that, we've had we concluded our first round of research scholars, and their publications are available online as policy reports. With these few words, and I have already mentioned that the political parties have expressed their views to the Election Commission, we now eagerly await them sharing their views with us. And I welcome Mr. Ram, the moderator of today's program. He really needs no introduction to this audience or any audience. Over the past 4.5 decades, his contribution to journalism has been across all important issues that have occupied national space and international affairs. Mr. N. Ram, I invite you to take over the proceedings, please.
Thank you. I sincerely thank all the political leaders, representatives of their parties who have accepted our invitation. By the way, English le pesalam, Tamil le pesalam, and kelvigalum kekkalam. Although, in the interest of those who don't Angalam theriyadavargalukku English le try pannunga, but Tamil equally welcome. Only 2 languages. So we are very happy that the leaders and representatives have accepted. All the parties are equal in this discussion. Some may have a greater base than others, but we make no distinction. We give equal weight to every party represented here. There is one major party in the state which is not represented here. We sent an invitation to the AIADMK and we haven't received any response. In case you wonder why they're not there, the table would have got even longer. But this is an important discussion, and as Sambandhan has just mentioned, we take up topical issues, current issues, not just topical issues, but current issues also. We attempt to research them, we reflect on them, and we invite opinions on these issues, thoughts on these issues, and we try to focus when major events are around the corner, major happenings are around the corner on issues that matter. So the issue today is about opinion polls. The facts are well known, and I won't waste time on that. But there has been for many years, in fact some decades, a debate on opinion polls. Why? Do opinion polls is there any evidence that opinion polls actually influence the decisions of voters? I'll save my view for later. We don't want to prejudice the discussion in any way or incline it in any direction. But some of us, Ravi, editor-in-chief of the Hindu, and I, and also I think some others, went before the Supreme Court in the late 90s to challenge the Election Commission's then attempt to what we call muzzling the press by banning opinion polls as well as exit polls from a certain point during the elections. And the then Attorney General for India, Soli Sorabji, expressed the view that they could not do it. So the matter was stalled. But today we have come down from that point a long way. And right now there is before us the proposal of the Election Commission. This is a letter dated November 12th to Secretary to the Government of India, Ministry of Law and Justice. I won't read out the whole thing, but basically, with basing themselves on the proposal based on opinion polls made by the Election Commission in a letter dated 6th April 2004, which the Election Commission claims was based on the views expressed by the recognized national and state political parties in a meeting convened by the Commission on 6th April 2004. The Election Commission asserts in this letter, subject to correction by those who are here who may know better, that that the political parties in 2004, and I pointedly refer to the BJP today, which may have changed its position, but it says that they were then of the unanimous view that publishing the results of opinion polls should be prohibited from the date of notification of election. That's the proposal up for discussion, and they want a provision to be made in the law prohibiting publishing and dissemination of the results of opinion poll from the date of notification of election. So the question is, why would political parties be unanimous? So it must be because they feel that they tangibly influence decisions of voters. If not, they will say it today. In case there is evidence that it actually influences, the question then arises, so what? There is party propaganda, even after particularly after the notification. There are campaigns. So what harm is done if opinion polls, which claim to be based on some science? One of the questions I'll refer to our expert here, Dr. Kandekar, would be, okay, I concede that if scientific methods, there's random sampling and all that, and you're careful, a good enough sample, and India has a lot of strength in this area, I concede that you could get a pretty good idea of the likely share of voter intentions, the likely share of the popular vote in a particular territory or all over the country. Conceding that for the sake of argument, how on earth do you convert that into seat projections? So, because I don't know of any known formula. He's a distinguished mathematician that helps to convert. So this is going to be a provocative question that will be particularly aimed at you and anybody else who wishes to speak about that. But the basic question is not that. It is, if we assume or concede that there is some influence of polls, opinion polls and also exit polls, then do they inform the voter or do they mislead the voter? What's wrong with it? The so what question has to be also answered. I think this is good enough for a start. I'll act purely as a moderator, and Mr. Gnanadesikar needs to catch a flight. And yeah, he'll leave by 12:30, so we would like him to open the innings.
Thank you, Ram. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues in other political parties, leaders of the political parties, I thank the Hindu Center for initiating a very valuable debate. As Mr. Ram said, why political parties are unanimous. Of course, exception is BJP. The reason being, the question raised by Mr. Ram itself is an answer, I think. What is the harm? A question has been posed. Second thing, whether it is misleading, the second question he has asked. Based upon that, I want to express my view that as Congress party has expressed itself at the All India level in response to the Election Commission letter, that Congress party opposes this opinion poll, and we want prohibition from the date of notification till the date of poll, and after that the exit poll also. The reason being, like a basic structure of the Constitution, the basic structure of the electoral system of India is secrecy. Till the votes are counted, no one is sure which candidate will win, which political party will get majority in the assembly or parliament. I feel that is the basic structure and strength of Indian democracy. The reason is, even if a defeated candidate challenges the election in the court of law for recount, the courts have expressed their opinion that recount must be made as a last resort, because secrecy of counting, secrecy of voting should be maintained at any cost. I feel that is the basic structure of the Indian electoral system, and therefore prejudging the result before the voters goes to the poll, cast his vote in a secret manner is not justified. That is our view. What harm it will cause is a second question. The harm is, most of the survey or opinion poll is taken by agencies. The agencies are employed by the media houses. And we all know the media houses are corporate houses. And we do not know who is funding the surveys. And rough estimate, I am told, for each survey, one has to spend 3.5 crore. And it costs 500 rupees per respondent, subject to correction. Now, India, except few print and visual media, mostly controlled by political parties, and particularly in Tamil Nadu. If that is so, if these opinion polls are manipulated and maneuvered in favor of certain political system or political party, then others are affected. The aim and role of the Election Commission in India is to create a level playing field. As you opening remark you said, you treat all the political parties alike in the same footing. So Election Commission also keeps all political parties in the same level of play field. And if the advantage is given in favor of one political party by giving a opinion poll predicting that party will come to power, the other political parties are affected, because roughly 10 to 15% of voters may be in some cases a deciding factor, are influenced by this opinion poll, because the Indian mind is always to go with the winning side. If the winning side is given predicted earlier, there is a tendency to go with the winning side by these undeciding voters. And therefore, the playing field which the Election Commission wanted to be a level field is destroyed by the system. The question now asked is freedom of speech. If you prohibit, then will it not affect 19(1), freedom of speech of the Constitution? Ladies and gentlemen, I am aware and conscious the Apex Court has went to the extent of saying that even advertisement will come within the ambit of freedom of speech, as they describe it as commercial speech. And in Tata Press case, the Supreme Court has said that everybody is entitled to receive and disseminate the information, and therefore, earlier the trend was the commercial speech is not covered under the protection of 19(1). But in Tata Press case, the Apex Court has come to the conclusion even the commercial advertisement is having a protection under 19, and therefore, if that is the case, whether this prohibition will not challenge in the court of law, whether it can survive in the Supreme Court. Sir, my answer is, we cannot make a law thinking what Supreme Court will say. There are several enactments made in Parliament which subsequently gone to Supreme Court, quashed, subsequently another bench reversed it, as one Supreme Court judge, of course, on the eve of retirement said, the first page of the judgment delivered by one judge is reversed by the last page of the judgment by another judge later. Therefore, sir, the consistency, as in political parties there is no consistency, I admit, same way in judiciary also there is no consistency in giving judgments also. Therefore, we can't anticipate what the Supreme Court will say. In fact, the justification, and I saw some of the enclosures which was circulated to us along with the minutes, that Canadian prohibition which was challenged in Canadian court and some of the foreign courts, where 7-day prohibition is justified, 15-day prohibition is justified, like that. But all these things has to be tested later. Now there is an unanimous view that this has to be stopped. And in Indian system we have learned the past opinion polls has failed. I was remarking with my friend Raja, with his permission, I will explain. When, yeah. No, I always take the liberty of taking permission. I always take the liberty of his permission. See, when Pramod Mahajan was doing his morning exercise in treadmill, based upon the opinion poll, he was very happily saying, we are forming the government in 2004. But the results when counted, it was otherwise. Similarly, I am not saying because Congress will have a sufferance if the opinion poll is made. In Punjab, the opinion poll predicted the Congress vote share is more, and therefore it is ahead of Akali Dal and BJP combination. But the result shows Akali Dal and BJP form the government. In UP, similarly, the prediction was on the basis of the vote share. Of course, he will be interested how the vote share is converted into a seat share. Based upon the vote share, they predicted Mayawati's BSP will form the government. But subsequently, it came to know that SP formed the government. In Karnataka, there was a question, who is the popular chief minister? Kumarasamy was first, and Sitharamaiah was last, 9%. But you all know who is heading the Karnataka government. Similarly, 2009 also, the opinion poll went wrong. And I don't want to say openly the name, but one survey agency was owned by a son of an MP who belongs to a political party. Therefore, there is a possibility of manipulation and maneuvering these results in favor of few and ultimately damaging the other political system. Sir, I don't want to give more particulars. If you want, I will share with you later. And we polled more votes, if I remember correct, 51 lakhs, less than the 7-party combination. But we got only 50 seats in 67. And DMK 7-party alliance, who polled less votes and less percentage of votes, formed the government with single party majority. Therefore, the opinion polls, though we say scientifically made, nobody knows what science they are following, and we do not know what mathematics they are applying. The source of this survey is not disclosed. Who is funding, not disclosed. On whose behalf the survey is made, not disclosed. Who is heading this institution, not disclosed. And therefore, I feel it will be a biased opinion poll as far as India is concerned. Therefore, why I come to the first question, sir, Mr. Ram, why the parties are unanimous? We are unanimous because of these reasons. Perhaps, like your paper, which is free from any political bias and political interference, if that system develops in future, maybe we will consider. Whether Indian system will permit that, I don't know. Because each political party is vying with each other to control the media, to control the visual media, to control the print media. And now from controlling, now they have shifted to owning. Therefore, the system is fast coming to a situation where you cannot have an independent view to the viewers. Therefore, let it be the voters judge on the basis of the propaganda and campaign which a political party carries out. Lastly, I want to ask, what is the information the voters are going to derive by this opinion poll? This opinion poll, ultimately, everybody is interested in saying how many seats which party gets, who will form the government. That is the only interesting aspect in all these opinion polls. I feel that is not the information which the voter requires. It will be known when votes are counted. Therefore, what is the hurry? That is my question. Secondly, the system of election commission's restrictions now even restricts propagating of policies, programs, meetings, cutouts, posters, campaign material, etc. Therefore, even to reach the public, to propagate our views, is now being restricted by the Election Commission, which public feels is good. And therefore, I feel, though I am not representing the total opinion of the public, but as one among the public, I say, the public will also welcome the prohibition of the opinion poll. Thank you, sir.
B.S. Jnanadesikan, a lawyer by training, now the president. You never practiced, right?
2 years.
2 years. The president of the Tamil Nadu Congress Committee and Rajya Sabha member from the state. Expired 23/7. Oh, this is, I think they took from the Rajya Sabha. Spokesperson of the erstwhile Tamil Manila Congress led by G.K. Mupanar and succeeded K.V. Tangabalu as TNCC chief after the 2011 assembly polls in the state. Just to flag the points he raised. One, don't prejudge the voter's mind, that's first. And he spoke about a level playing field. I'm just flagging the issue. Secondly, he challenged the science behind opinion polls as they are conducted in India, both the share of the popular vote and surely the projection of seats, citing many examples where they have gone wrong according to him. And he also questioned what what is this information that you are seeking to provide the public or the voter through opinion polls? And finally, he pointed to the many restrictions that have been put in place by the Election Commission of India, upheld by the Supreme Court, on the right of political parties to campaign, propagation of policies and so on, what you can do after notification, surely a reference to the model code of conduct and so on. So if we are restricted, what's your problem? What's the hurry, as he put it, in doing this? I think I've flagged the points correctly. Thank you. Next will be the man from whom he took permission to quote Mr. H. Raja. I'll give you his background. He's a chartered accountant by training, one of the younger leaders of the BJP in Tamil Nadu, a former member of the State Assembly representing Sivagana. Correct? Oh, they got it wrong. Next time you should check, verify, discipline of journalism. He is the BJP State Vice President and member of the party's National Executive. I had quite a chat with him before, but I won't reveal his views because he's going to do it now. I think it's better.
Opinion polls. My friend Mr. Jnanadesigan, who is a very senior politician, one of the senior politicians, have cited so many things. First, I am a student of statistics. My professor told that statistics can be defined as lie, damned lie, and statistics. See, the efficacy of a survey. Psephology is of recent origin in India. But in economic field, for launching a product, pricing it, for all these things, the opinion of the public was conducted. So the efficacy of it really depends on how representative the sample is. And as a developing science in India, if it is sought to be banned now, it will not have any opportunity to grow or improve upon. So at the outset itself, I would like to say that with all the flaws, we can quote so many instances of the opinion poll going awry. But yet, I am of the opinion that it has to be allowed. Because in 1998 case, when the Election Commission sought to order issuing guidelines for the opinion poll, the Supreme Court has struck it down as ultra vires of its powers. And also in 2004, it has opened that it infringes on the right to freedom of speech and opinion, and so it breaches Article 19(1) of the Constitution. So the efficacy of the poll and the clamor to ban it are entirely different. For the past 1 decade, there has been a discussion going on whether the opinion poll has to be banned, but in 2009 the exit poll was banned. That too from the start of the polling to half an hour after the polling was over in the last phase. There is some logic in it because there is a difference between opinion poll and the exit poll. Exit poll means people consider it as an exact figure. So in the subsequent polling, their opinion could change on the basis of the result of the opinion poll in the initial phase of the election. But the opinion poll, the very word itself conveys the meaning that it is not the result. And the Indian electorate are highly matured. I can cite one example. The elections that took place in 1977. Of course, there was no electronic media at that time. But even the radio, the print media was totally under the control of the central government. Every morning when you tune on the radio, it would say that the country is progressing, people have accepted emergency. And there was no much resource left with the opposition. The opposition leaders were out of jail just after the announcement of the elections. The opposition party cadres polishing the shoes, getting atana and spending for the elections. At that time, the powerful Prime Minister and her son were squarely defeated, and Congress drew blank in many of the northern states. So, when a government missionary, the money power, media power, muscle power, everything was vested with the ruling party, how the people defeated that ruling party? So, our Indian electorate have got the capacity to decide, irrespective of what is filled in their ears before the elections or during the campaign. But does it help in the shaping the opinion of the voters or influencing them? Whether the opinion poll informs the electorate or mislead. We can see one or two examples where it has positively impacted on the electorate. I can cite the 2 years back elections in Uttar Pradesh. Most of the polls predicted a hung assembly, but put Samajwadi Party as the front runner. I welcome the decision of the verdict of the people. They did not want any confusion. They did not want a hung assembly. They did not want political horse trading. So they gave majority to the front runner. The same thing happened in the previous election with Mayawati. Exactly the same has happened there. So we need not worry much about the impact of the opinion polls on the people. In 2004, perhaps our stand would have been different. But on the experience, after that, BJP is for not banning the opinion polls. Let people come to know of the real situation prevailing in that state or in the national elections. My friend Jnanadesian cited what Mahajan has told to him. Then why do you fear now? Only we lost in 2004, but we don't bother about it. Because what the opinion polls throw up very interesting informations to the public and to the political parties too. I would like to cite a recent example. In opinion poll, a question was asked to the voters. Do you judge Narendra Modi on development plank or on 2002? That was the question put to the voters. See, surprisingly, 85% of the people have told that we want to rate Narendra Modi on the development plank and not on 2002. It's a right information to Bharatiya Janata Party even. So, the opinion polls, other than the number of seats, they give you a lot of valuable information not only to the readers but also to the political parties, the real actors in the elections, which are all the issues that concerns the mind of the public. Is it corruption or price rise or the welfare schemes? So, we need not fear about the opinion poll, and we can, even the political parties have got a lot to learn and act upon the opinion poll. But why there are difference and deviations between what has been predicted and what has come into reality? Because in our country, the influence of political parties varies from state to state, and within state varies from region to region. So when the sampling is a right representative sample, then I think the opinion polls could be, if not exactly to the result, near to it. Because in 1977, we here in Tamil Nadu actually feared that Mrs. Gandhi could return to power, because there was no much impact, direct impact of the emergency atrocities in the south. So many reasons were there. So the anger of the people against emergency was not that much strong here. Though the Janata Party got some 4-5 seats in the south, 3 from Tamil Nadu, 2 from Karnataka, and I think only Neelam Sanjeev Reddy, 1 from Andhra Pradesh. So it was only 4 or 5 seats from the south, the party could get 300 seats. So when selecting the samples, we have to take into account the geographical influence of political parties and also the religious and the urban-rural representation. So the learned professor here may throw some light on how the opinion is converted into seats.
Another thing, men, women.
Men, women. So, if these things are taken into account in selecting the number of samples, and if the samples are really of optimum number, then definitely the science could grow a lot and the results could be near to the reality. But what about the calm and objective assessment in taking decision of the voter? Already 36 hours campaign holiday is already there in campaigning. My question to those who want the opinion poll to be banned is, if the opinion poll is conducted before the notification and the political parties are aware of it, is there any mechanism in the political leaders telling that to the voters? There is no mechanism. And it is against the right to speech and opinion. So, for me, it has got only academic interest, whether to ban or not. So, what I feel is, if my friends in other parties are so insistent upon it, after the scrutiny of the nomination, when the actual election process starts, the publication of the opinion poll can be prevented from being published. Before that, it has to be published. So, like some restrictions could be there, but banning opinion poll is like banning a science. Psephology is a science. Let us allow it to grow. Let it commit mistake. As a child, when it starts walking, it falls. But after some time, it would walk well. So, the clamor to ban opinion poll is a retrograde step. So, BJP is not for it. So, we are for giving the media its full right to have opinion poll and publish it give its opinion on it, because casting aspersions on the media is not good for democracy. And my friend Jnanadesan has also referred here about the political parties having the media. Fortunately, BJP is not having any media, either at the all India level or the regional level. And social media is individual, right? We don't have a media of our own, either at the national level or at the regional. And kindly forgive me if I am little bit frank. The English media, whether the print media or the electronic media, they have always got a bias against BJP, a little. So, let not Jnanadesigan and others fear about giving freedom to such a media to come out with its opinion poll. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Mr. Raja. The points he flagged you heard, but I just to quickly mention them. Article 19(1)(a), jurisdiction of the Election Commission, what happened in 1998. In fact, we were part of that case. And the Attorney General, I think, gave a telling opinion. The Indian electorate is highly mature. He gave examples, especially from 1977, a fairly powerful example from 1977, I would say. And how they've gone wrong in UP in particular, 2 in a row. Not entirely wrong, but predicted a hung assembly and people didn't want it. So he appreciates the voters, which whatever the outcome, don't go for a hung assembly, right? Yeah. And the useful information for the BJP on Chief Minister Narendra Modi and BJP Prime Ministerial nominee Narendra Modi's themes. Development of 2002, he said that it was very useful even to the BJP and those who support it. So it does provide, according to him, valuable information not just to the public but to political parties and their leaders, and that's a real service. How reliable? Not too bad, but he wants the science to be strengthened and refined. And if I heard you right, you implied that you're not quite a believer in the seat projections. Seat projections.
These projections go wrong because of percentage wrong sampling.
Okay. So, and he's for the science of psephology. And why ban a science? Are you going to be obscurantist? That's the implication of what he said. What's the big harm? People are mature. And then he made a suggestion saying that it may be reasonable to accept this kind of restriction post scrutiny of nomination, not after notification of the elections. So they're quite willing to accept it, but and then he had a word of praise for the media. Thank you. Now, for the although he differs with the English language media and which seem to have a tilt against the BJP, according to him, still it's a vote of confidence in the media. Thank you. Next is G. Ramakrishnan, a member of the Communist Party of India's Central Committee, was elected Secretary of the Tamil Nadu State Committee in February 2010. A lawyer by training, he joined the CPIM in 1969 and actively worked for the Students' Federation of India until he became a full-time member in 1981. And let me disclose that I knew him right from the start of his political career.
Mr. Ram, leaders of the political parties and friends, I thank the Hindu Center for organizing a discussion on opinion polls. It's very timely. As you all know, there are 2 polls, exit polls and opinion polls. exit polls was already banned. In 2004, all the recognized political parties were unanimous in saying opinion polls should be allowed. So now the election commission has asked the opinion of the political parties, recognized political parties, written to all the political parties and asking them, what's your opinion? Except BJP. My friend Raja has already explained. They say it should be allowed in an unqualified manner. The letter written by BJP to the election commission doesn't put any restriction. It says, okay, do it. Other parties, many of the political parties say should be banned. Banned means opinion poll, the results of opinion poll should be published not after the issue of the notification for election. Now the question arises whether it affects the fundamental rights, everything. Mr. Jnanadesai has explained so many things. The concept note circulated by Hindu Center raises two questions. Whether pre-election opinion polls and its results influence the voters. If so, whether it helps the voters to understand or mislead them. I am of the opinion it works in both ways. Sometimes it helps the voters to understand the situation, issues, so many other things. Sometimes it misleads the voters. When BJP says unqualified opinion poll, whether before or after the notification of the election, majority of the political party says no. My party, our party has written to the election commission saying there should be no blanket ban or outright ban on opinion poll, because the voters are willing to know what are the issues and what are the policies of the political parties, issues focused in the election. They will be benefited. So it should be allowed. Then all the fundamental rights are not unqualified rights. There are some restrictions and conditions. So our party is of the opinion poll should be allowed, but there should be no blanket banning or opinion polls. But this should not be, the results of the opinion poll should not be published for a reasonable period from the date of notification of the election. The question arises, what is the reasonable period? We think election commission should discuss with the stakeholders and decide what is the reasonable period, length of the period. And also the other question arises on this issue. Mr. Raja and Jnanadesai has also opined about opinion whether it's scientific or not. There is no unrestricted freedom of expression or media freedom. Because when we talk about paid news, the last Lok Sabha and Assembly elections, then media is playing a role, either this way or that way. So it should be restricted. Another question arises, many times our friends have already said, many times opinion polls was proved to be wrong, went wrong. There are a lot of examples. I need not go into that. When we decide to allow it, While many times it went wrong, what is the solution? What is the way out? The methodology adopted or opinions poll conducted is not scientific. But who is to say this is scientific, this is unscientific? We think election commission should give guidelines for the opinion polls. Whether it's for the political parties or organizations or institution. Guidelines for everyone. Because as a party, a political party can institute, can do an opinion poll and results may be in their favor. Or a political party can engage an organization, do it for the interest of a certain political party. So election commission should give guidelines to everyone to be followed in the opinion polls. Everything should be transparent. Source of funding should be made public. The format, representatives. So everything should be transparent and public. Nothing should be hidden. So election commission has sought the opinion of political parties and it has got almost the opinions of all the political parties. It has asked the opinion of the political parties. We need a provision in the law to decide the period of publication of opinion polls. So, according to our party, there should be no blanket ban or outright ban. It should be allowed with some conditions. And it should not be published for reasonable period means that what is the reasonable period? The election commission should decide and consider the political party. These are the views of our party. We have already written to the election commission also. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that very disciplined and clear presentation. And from what Ramakrishnan has said, the election commission was claiming too much when it said in this letter of November 12, 2003, that on the proposal of opinion polls made by the Commission in its letter dated 6th April 2004, based on the views expressed by the recognized national and state political parties, when it claimed that the political parties were then of the unanimous view that publishing the results of opinion polls should be prohibited from the date of notification of elections. That was not the CPIM stand, not for a blanket ban, but restrictions up to a reasonable period after the notification of elections is the stand. He also pointed out that the impact could be mixed. Sometimes it informs, sometimes it helps, sometimes it misleads. And methodology is important, and the election commission is certainly entitled, according to him, to demand or to lay down guidelines. The transparency issue, everything should be disclosed, by which I think we mean sample size, when it was done. I think there's a code for doing opinion surveys like this, funding, source of funding, and so on. So there are so this transparency is very important, and no right, he said, no fundamental right is absolute. There are reasonable restrictions provided for the Constitution. So the same thing applies to the media. So it's a nuanced position that he put forward, and I note with interest that the Election Commission has been claiming a little too much. I don't want to use harsher language. Perhaps it's a misleading statement, which is why we particularly value these nuances and inputs from the representative of political parties here. Also, earlier the points were made. So thank you very much, Ramakrishnan, for that. Next, Mr. D. Pandian, Secretary, Tamil Nadu State Council. Communist Party of India, senior leader of the CPI, and before that the undivided Communist Party, now Secretary of the Tamil Nadu State Council of the CPI, former member of the Lok Sabha representing North Chennai, trade union leader for many years, lawyer, teacher, journalist, and we are lucky that he survived after serious injuries at Sri Perumbudur when the former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated in a dastardly manner by operatives from the LTT, and Mr. Pandian escaped but with serious injuries. So we are happy that you survived to tell this story and seem to be in very good health.
Mr. Ram and my colleagues from all friendly parties and guests. We are now discussing, I think, in a broad sense, about responsible media. If there is a very responsible, committed media, then what they say and what they do need not be censored, and they can be trusted, and they may be allowed to educate the people. But we know that in India as well as elsewhere, the media is not completely free or committed to any particular service-minded people. There also the economy plays. And as I am also associated with a daily run by my party, I know the financial difficulties of running a paper. It depends solely and mainly on advertisement revenue. It is not by way of circulation. That money goes to some other expenses. So I don't want to dwell upon it. People know that. So the papers and the journal, the print media as well as the electronic media, their main need is to run it and also successfully and to also expand. If that is to be done, they have to earn money. So the main motive of this media is to survive as an institution first. But such an institution, depending upon the revenue of advertisement, necessarily will be compelled to look at the government ruling party and also the influential political parties of the past political party and also of the possible party that may come to power. And all these media is run by not saints. It is also by human beings. And I don't know whether there is any particular media, however powerful and popular it might be, is capable of surveying the minds of the people of India. If that had been so easy, all the political party leaders and with vast experience could have easily decided. Having contested more than 8 times into the assembly and to the parliament, I know. Here also there may be some editors and papers which wrote that I may be winning hands down in the last election because of his image and popularity, this and that. But it turned out to be I lost it by nearly around about 20,000 votes. And the winner is sitting there. And no paper, no journal predicted that he will win. And I have heard my friends that some of his friends had been telling that he is going to lose. And some of my friends had been giving hopes to me that I can take a ticket to Delhi. How it happened, I can tell you. I am not entering into any polemics. Please don't misunderstand me. As a candidate, I have contested some 3 times from North, 4 times from North Parliament, Madras Parliament constituency. Before Rajiv Gandhi's assassination in 1989, then I was not in the CPI, I was expelled from the party, so I had my own small outfit and I had no even polling booth agents because I had only 200 members. But only the booths were nearly 1,600. Not even with agents, I won it hands down by 1,40,000 votes against the ruling party. The next election came within 16 months. It is at that time that took place. In 1991, May 21st, Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated at Sriperumbudur. And I don't know, even today it is a mystery. Many are asking me, but I am not able to guess it. I was by the nearest, closest man by his side because I was translating to him what the Tamil people had been telling him. So I had to translate his English piece to the admirers from English to Tamil, and also from them from Tamil to English. And then his bodyguard, a 6-foot tall man, came and told me, you go to the dais, you please start going to the dais, I will bring Rajiv Gandhi to the dais. But at that time a lady touched his feet and was about to present a petition. And one lady sub-inspector stopped it, prevented that woman. But Rajiv Gandhi said, don't prevent that woman, let her come and give me. It is that lady who switched on the bomb. The bomb went off. So as I was returning, I don't know how, I was thrown some away from that place. Surprisingly, I have survived, but while they carried me, because I was seriously injured, I could not get up and walk. Around me, 18 persons, 18 human beings were cut into pieces, and they were writhing, and with all agony they were mourning. It is that bloody sight I have seen, and I don't know how I escaped, how I survived, but still I am alive to tell the story. So naturally, after this assassination, as being a candidate, second time, I got more votes and got elected because of the sympathy wave, not because of my party strength. In the fourth time, I contest and the people say, I have gained enough popularity and I have become a brave regular. Then I got defeated. I know why. Because the fisher folk on the coastal line, 2 days before the election date, polling date, asked me to give some enough money, some small money, in lakhs, for building a temple for their society and all, which this poor fellow could not afford. And I don't know what happened the next day. So the third day, my popularity evaporated. I got defeated. So the money plays a big role in the decisions and verdict of the people, number one. Then, is there any media which can survey the whole minds of 120 crores of people throughout India with so many religious beliefs, with so many communal bias, and led by their small groups, political parties divided and everything? Is there any such machinery? Whenever I see, I remember what the Plato's quote. Whenever we speak of, he's a good man, she's a beautiful lady, that description cannot be measured. Is there any measurement, any instrument to measure it? How to value the goodness of a man or the badness of a man? It is only our subjective assessment. And your subjective assessment is subject to your prejudices and wishes. So, off you perceive and off we create. That is the result. It will be the case whenever we analyze a single individual's case. But how it is to analyze 120 crores of people? Naga thinking, Mizoram thinking, from Arunachal Pradesh down to Cape Comorin. So place to place it differs. But these media, maybe A or B, they claim and they speak on behalf of the people, we have decided to vote for this party or that candidate. It is only a wish assessment. That is what the paper wants. The media wants the people to think like him and also to decide what he wants to decide. This is not attempting not to educate the people, but to influence the people. This is salesmanship. This is not service-minded duty. then what is the motive of this survey? If the press has every full right to assess about the programs and the services of the party, and also about the antecedents, character, mindset, and all about whatever they want. They can assess about that, and they can say, he's a service-minded man, his antecedents are good and all that. And if the criminal cases are pending, that they can bring it to the voters and say, he is such a criminal, he is such an antisocial element, beware of him. That welcome. But to say only about the vote and marketing prices, it is an exchange market. It is not a share market where you are trying to influence that such a political party he has an edge over the other party and all that. Politically they can educate. Without that, if you only trumpet about the glory, then it can easily, a small section can be won over, because if you go on dinning into the ears that such and such party is going to get into power within weeks, definitely the trading section, trading sector, and those people who are trading in money will definitely choose and try to help that party to cull favors from them. So it is, this motive is not to educate the people, not to serve the people, but only to influence. So there must be some regulation. My party is not for control and ban, but there must be regulation. What for we have the traffic rules? It is regulation. It is for our safety. And there is a law. Whenever there is a woman becomes pregnant, she would like to know about the gender of the child. Now in India there is a rule, isn't? No scanning, and doctors are not permitted to predict whether you are going to get a girl child or boy child. Why? We know. If they come to know that there is going to be a girl child, in my district particularly, the crime will start in the womb. It has been started. Similarly, you educate the people about the problems of this country and about the responsibilities of the government. Committed media in the service of the country has every right to educate the people. There, no restriction be there, no censorship is expected. But we know that is also commercially conditioned. It cannot act freely. It is not a missionary work. It is not a missionary work. It is not service-minded. It is also another sector of institution which is trading. And now here, you want to trade on the minds of the people and enter into speculative political prognosis. Let not anybody arrogate to themselves that right to educate the entire people. Let us give them freedom. Help them to think. Help them to analyze. And for that, there must be some restrictions. And that restriction need not take away the rights of the media. It can give, but under a regulated definition. To give unrestricted and uncensored media freedom will lead to chaos. And there will be anarchy. There is enough anarchy, then enough chaos inside the parliament itself and also legislatures. Let it not be extended to the media. And media, and particularly the electronic media, is so powerful, which can enter into any family so easily, unrestricted, may destroy, or if it functions properly, may make the country. So the question is not a simple question of allowing full freedom to the media, whether it is print or electronic media, to how to make the media to behave with responsibility and with a commitment to the nation and to the people. That is the question. And from that, elections may come and go, and often come and go, and whatever we may predict may come. It is like weather forecast. Yesterday there was a forecast that the crossing of this cyclone Helen may bring rain to us. In vain we were waiting, and there is going to be a drinking water problem. So weathercast also may come or may not. Even with all the equipments and scientific knowledge, when they are not able to predict the weather forecast, it may go wrong. What about the frailty of human beings to say on behalf of the 120 crores of the people? And in the last 2 months, please, Raja, please excuse me. According to the media, already there is an anointed Prime Minister in India. If what I don't want to go, don't want to convert it to anything. But you can predict it till the votes are counted and announced. Why there is a haste to predict it and not wait for the date? Can the students demand, I have written my examination, and before writing the examination he can say, so much, so many, and all that? Wait for the result. So that responsibility should be voluntary. If when it is not coming voluntarily, it should be enforced by the election commission. Is not the election the political party, the very same political parties are reporting to the election commission to stop him or disqualify him for speaking like this, for slandering this, for violating all the rules? So the very same political party, you have leveled very many charges against Rahul Gandhi and you have requested to stop him from speaking. That is what we want to the media also to do and emulate.
Thank you. Mr. Pandian raised the question of the orientation of the media, pointing out that they're not all saints. We didn't say sinners, but implied it. And he also pointed to the economics which drives them to this from his own experience as an editor. High dependence on advertising, and he then gave us some insights. I think I found a lot of interest in that, recalling 1991 and also his own election, where to his own shock he won, and then to the shock of his friends he lost. And he also raised the question of motive in going for predictions and criticized the commercialization or hyper-commercialization and the what he called salesmanship, and affirmed the right of journalism, the media, to comment on, to report on, to provide information on the programs and policies of parties, and also the antecedents of candidates, including their criminality, if it was so, or criminal antecedents. But he then raised the question about what they really wanted to do, not to serve people, but to influence them, and influence them negatively. And finally, you know what he said about the weather, especially yesterday. And so this is a question that we also will throw up, we'll pass on to Dr. Karandekar. But whether it's like whether meteorology is a science and whether what you also participate in is akin to that. So thank you very much. And now to the representative of one of the two major political parties in the state, the DMK, Mr. T.K.S. Ilangovan, spokesman and organizing secretary. He left a well-paid bank job to take up full-time politics, the DMK, and we know how, about the election, whom he defeated last time. His father, T.K. Srinivasan, was a well-known thinker and ideologue of the Dravidian movement, also a former Rajya Sabha member of the DMK. So welcome, and we look forward to your...
Thank you, Mr. Ram. I take this opportunity to thank the Hindu Center for Politics and Public Policy. This is an issue which was settled already almost all the parties have expressed their opinion to the Election Commission, and most of the parties except the BJP had expressed their views against publication of these opinion polls, at least for a certain period. And on behalf of the DMK, we had written that during the operation of the Model Code of Conduct, opinion polls should not be there. Why? I have to explain. In an opinion poll, there are three divisions: a certain percentage for, a certain percentage against, and a certain percentage undecided. This opinion poll affects the undecided voters. It will have an impact on the undecided voters, because this is the version of the voters. The media or those who conduct this opinion poll does not have anything to do with this. The voters say that we are going to vote for this party. The voters say that we are not going to vote for this party. The voters say that we are yet undecided whether to vote for this party or that party. Because their opinion, the survey conductors do not give them any input. They may prepare a questionnaire, present the questionnaire and ask for their opinion. In this regard, in a lighter vein, I want to quote one such event in 1971, when there was no psephology like a science. The Hindu made a survey throughout the state in Tamil Nadu, and they predicted that the DMK will get only 25 seats in 1971, whereas in the elections the DMK got 205 seats. Congress, the opposition with Kamaraj and Rajaji, could not get more than 30 seats. So these are all opinions which will change. Now you present a party. During the elections you are going to present the candidate. A candidate may be good. The people may like the candidate. They may not like the party. Sometimes they may like the party. They may not like the candidate. These are all things which the undecided voters should not be allowed to form an opinion of by the results of these opinion polls. That is our worry. So that is why we are opposed to publication of opinion polls during a particular during that period. As Mr. Jnanadesigan was mentioning, the UP state elections, the Punjab state elections, the predictions were different. In Punjab, Congress was expected to win. In UP, SP was not expected to get this much of seats. But what happened? And our friend, my dear friend H. Raja said, psephology as a science should not be allowed to die. We are not going to kill psephology, sir. We are going to put it in the shelf during elections, that's all. We want psephology to be put in the shelf for a certain period. We are not in the shelf. Secondly, during the time when the model code of conduct is in force. That is what we have written. During the time when the model code of conduct is in force.
That means from the time of announcement of election.
Yes.
Notification.
Yes. Yes. Now, he said, Mr. Raja said, there is no media for BJP. BJP is nowhere in the field now. BJP is nowhere in the field now. Only Modi is in the field. There is no BJP. Nobody talks of BJP. Nobody can connect Modi with the Hindutva. Only economic agenda. If somebody questions them, they will get wild. When Amartya Sen questioned the economic development in the state, somebody said his Bharat Ratna should be taken back. So nobody should question Modi and the economic development in Gujarat. That is different. Nobody can question, compare Tamil Nadu where socio-economic changes, development is there, and whereas in Gujarat only economic development is there. Nobody should say that. So an opinion is formed, is attempted to be formed on the basis of the Gujarat economic development without considering the social development, the required social development in this country, without considering the social impact of the backward areas, the position of the backward areas in the other parts of this country. We want Modi and Gujarat and Modi. They will not even try to connect Modi with BJP. They will disown BJP will disown Modi, because if they start owning them, it may not be in the good of Modi. Hindutva attack will come along with him. So that's a different question. So opinions are created first. Before conducting an opinion poll, opinion creation is done by the media. Media act as opinion creators, opinion makers. They thrust something in the minds of the people. Continuously they spread some news about a party or a leader or somebody. And then they go to them and ask their opinion as to who will win. Here, as a DMK man, I don't have anybody from the ADMK to refute me. When there is nobody, the parliamentary procedure says that if there is nobody to refute, you cannot speak. But I think this will be of some interest, and I hope I have an advocate for ADMK here, my elder brother, D. Pandian. No media in the state, neither print media nor the electronic media, except DMK's Morasoli and Kalaignar TV, points out any of the wrongdoings of the government, any of the misgovernance in the state. Nobody writes. Occasionally they write, but not about the chief minister, but some minor elements, minor members of the cabinet. So what is the opinion which the people will have when they go through all these newspapers? They will form an opinion that this is the best government which is running here, which is going on here. That is how opinions are first created, and after creating a certain opinion, then opinion polls are held. Then what will be the result of the opinion poll? Okay, whatever it is, we don't want to curtail the rights of the media. Freedom of expression is always allowed. We are not against the freedom of expression. But at least during the elections, let the candidate go to the people and tell them as to what they are going to do. There is a campaign period of 14 days. Let the party go to the people. Let the candidate go to the people and tell them as to what his plans are, what his program is, what his policies are and convince the people and get his votes. If he could convince the people, allow him to convince the people. Don't make him go to people with some prejudged opinion and waste his energy. At least with the 3 months or 4 months during which time this model code of conduct is in force, let the candidate by himself go to the people, ask their votes, explain his position, list out his policies and programs, and seek their votes. With these words, I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you very much. He brought in a new point about the influence on undecided voters. That's his real concern. Not those who have made up their minds, but undecided voters. Then he pointed to the candidate party problematic, that you judge the candidate, not the party, or judge the party, it may mislead about the candidate. And that's a point he made, and he also criticized the media for its Modi fixation, as he called it, or as he indicated, and only highlighting the development aspect, the development narrative or theme, and not the Hindutva theme or narrative. And he also criticized the media for being rather timid about the ruling party and government, and particularly the chief minister in the state. These things presented. And in response to a question, he clearly indicated that the DMK stand is, let this restriction be there while the model code of conduct is in force, which means after the announcement of election, not just notification, by the Election Commission of India. And no harm, he said. We are not out to gag the media, but this restriction is reasonable, so let parties and candidates go out and meet people and convince them one way or the other, and don't try to prejudge and influence especially the undecided voter. That sums up. And in fairness to the Hindu, whose editors are here, Malani Parsadi, and Ravi has been here from the start, editor-in-chief, has stepped out for something. They've been busy with editorial tasks. I must also point out that in 1989, the Hindu got it right, and your leader was delighted because we are the only party, only newspaper which published a poll saying that the DMK would win 2/3 of the seats in the assembly. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. And I was, yes. But it is true that polls have gone completely wrong. I agree that. Yeah. Yes. So, and final and last but not least, my friend, a veteran politician and statesman, member of the assembly, chairman of the presidium of the DMDK, deputy leader of the opposition in the state assembly, popularly known as Pandroti, has been a state minister handling many portfolios of both the DMK and AIDMK, and from the early 70s, was close to Chief Minister M.G. Ramachandran, who had, I know this for a fact, immense faith in Pandroti. He was deputed to speak at the UN on the Sri Lankan Tamils issue. And I can recall that just before Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi flew to Colombo to sign the Indo-Sri Lanka agreement, I think sometime around midnight, Mr. Ramachandran was present in a meeting, Balasingham, Prabhakaran, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, and as representative of the state, senior statesman, I think he told some home truths at that meeting, and after that was kind enough to brief me, remember? And so on. So that's his track record, so we would like him to present his views.
Distinguished moderator Dr. Ram, my esteemed colleagues and friends. At the outset, I am indeed very much grateful for having invited me to participate in this relevant function. I think this is the first time that I am able to attend a function on behalf of the Hindu Center for Politics and Public Policy. I learned that it is doing a very good service in the cause of enunciating public policies. Today the subject is about the opinion polls. After listening to my distinguished speakers before, I was really wondering why there is so much fuss about opinion polls. After all, everyone was claiming that in spite of the opinion polls, some other outcome has come in almost all the elections. So it clearly shows that opinion polls do not really influence the decision of the voters. Perhaps. See, the essence of democracy is to enable the voter make his informed choice. That is the function of the democracy. So, through whatever channels, if possible, please try to send all the informations to the voter so that he makes an informed choice. My esteemed friend Mr. Pandian was mentioning that even the criminal records of the candidates are asked to be intimated by the election commission at the time of filing the nomination. Why? Because the voter is an ultimate authority. He is to decide, and when he wants to take a decision, all the information must be made available to him. So the opinion poll is one such channel for giving information to the voter. It need not necessarily mean that opinion poll directly affects the outcome of the elections. Outcome of elections depend upon various factors, not necessarily only the opinion polls. The voter gets the information, that's all, but he makes his own decision. It is one of the inputs. So it doesn't mean that the opinion polls sway the voters to take decision based on the opinion polls. The very fact that the election results have come in a different way is the clear indication that the opinion polls do not really influence the decision of the voters. They were mentioning about youth elections. See, between SP and BSP, that is between Mulayam Singh and Mayawati, it was only 3% vote shift, which gave to such a large number of seats. So our first past to the post system works in such a way that even a small difference in terms of percentage of votes gives enormous difference in terms of seats. So that is our voting system. So as far as I am concerned, that there can be no absolute ban on voting on opinion polls. After all, on the day of the election, don't you get the newspapers? On the day of the election, don't you get the TV sets working on behalf of the various political parties? On the day of election, don't you have internet system? How can you ban in total the opinion of the voters? In fact, the opinion poll really helps the political parties. See, the political parties, we address rallies, we distribute pamphlets, we canvass votes, and we do everything. But we don't know what is in voters' mind. It's the one-way traffic from the political parties to pump information to the voters. But voters, what they really think about us, what they really think about the governance, what they really care about, how to know that? In US they have focus groups. So almost all over the world, in every country now, in order to get the feedback from the voters to whom we serve, we need a mechanism that is best served by the opinion polls. See, today you read in papers that Mr. Obama, the president of US, is very low in opinion polls, and France President Hollande is very much low in his opinion polls. So it helps really course correction. In fact, the opinion polls indicate as a trend which will really help the political parties to plan their future ahead. Forewarned is forearmed. Supposing, say in the recent opinion polls, the BJP is making a lead, then it is time for the Congress to set its house in order. So it's really an enlightening aspect of the opinion poll. Now, what really is the problem in our country is the opinion polls are not up to high standards. We do not have statistically literate editors. We at times take a very shoddy survey, and we employ fly-by-night pollsters. We don't train them. So what really is required is, you must improve the quality, higher standards of opinion polls, which will really help democracy, which will really help political parties, which will really help the voters. So opinion polls as such is not a bad idea. Just because somebody says that if some party is going to win, it won't mean all the people are going to vote for that party. It never happens. In fact, I have been in politics for the last 54 years. So I knew. See, during 1980s, I still vividly remember our late revered leader M.G. Ramchandran was so convinced that his popularity was overwhelming, that by supporting another party he will be able to win the elections. After all, even Tamil Nadu voters are accused of going after cinema actors and actresses in those days. But we got only 2 seats. What happened to his charisma? What happened to MGR as a phenomenon? What went wrong? My own conclusion is that our voters are more intelligent and capable than the present day politicians in our country, and they can decide what is right and what is wrong. So let us not underestimate the capacity of the intelligence of our voters. They may be illiterate, but they are not ignorant. They know what is happening. Nowadays, especially with the media, almost daily working 24 hours, they get all the information, they make their own decision. So it is only one of the information channels that these opinion polls contribute, and there is no necessity for election commission or somebody else. Of course, they can, as a regulator, as an umpire, as a referee, as a moderator, as Dr. Ram here is, they can fix some standards. See, what now they really do, how they frame questions, how do they make the survey that must be published, and who funds and finances it, and for what purpose, what are the issues, what questions are framed, what methodologies adopted. All those things can be really gone into. Even capable editors can themselves regulate it, not even necessity for the election commission. So I personally think that having opinion poll survey is a good guide, is a good help, and it will help us. But of course, as my distinguished colleagues have said already, there can be a reasonable time before the polling date so as to enable the voter to think calmly and freely and without any impediment or any influence, so that he can make a decision on his own. Say a reasonable time. In some countries they have a week, in some countries they have another 10 days or 14 days. In our case, the Election Commission has asked for from the date of notification to the date of polling and all that. But I ultimately think that it is the decision of the voter that finally counts, And the election outcome need not necessarily be based on the very opinion poll survey. In fact, in elections, what most counts is a defining issue. Pollsters may be able to tell you. Say in 1971, when we won Bangladesh, all over India we got elected. That is why here later revered leaders Kamraj and Rajaji could not make it. What can they do? It was the defining issue at that time. Similarly, when Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated, that was the defining issue in our Tamil Nadu elections. What your opinion survey has to do with that? So the outcome of election is entirely dependent on so many factors and need not necessarily be only on poll survey. But at the same time, opinion survey or opinion poll should not be more opinion than poll. It should be more poll than opinion. And it should be scientifically improved and brought up to date to higher standards so that people can also rely on this opinion poll for taking their own decision. Thank you very much.